Something wrong with your internet? Oh, there we are.
There we go. It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Sacramento, California. And this is news that you can use from CarEdge for Wednesday, November 15th, with your host, me, Ray, and not Zach, Justice, who's filling in for Zach today. Justice, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, but by the way, it is not noon. It is 9 here.
That's right. Yes. Well, let me rephrase. It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and 9 a.m. in Sacramento, California's state capital. There you have it.
Doing well. How are you doing this morning, Ray?
I am. I'm a little. I'm wired up. I don't know why.
Is it the clickbait headlines that are getting you wired up?
Well, just because Zach's not here and I said there ain't no bait like clickbait, I don't want you to think, folks, that I'm taking a shot at my son because, hey, he's my meal ticket. So I'm not really taking a shot. Well, maybe I'm his meal ticket. But anyway, I'm not really taking a shot at him. But, I saw the car dealers can't sell overpriced used cars, and I saw all the flames, and all I could think to myself was, damn, I'm going to need an asbestos suit today to do this show. And it hasn't come in from Amazon yet. I'm waiting.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to, hey, Edward, Granite Bay is just right up. I spend a lot of my time in Granite Bay. So
there you have it. Look at that.
Yeah. Nice to have someone local. So we're talking about the market drop, though, right?
Yes. Zach, God bless him, sent us the outline for the show today because, if he's not in control, well, then there's no control.
Anyone who's watched the EV show knows that.
So he wanted us to dig a little deeper into the Black Book data from yesterday. Is it data or data? Either way, he wanted us to dig a little deeper into that yesterday, and we touched on that to some degree on yesterday's show. If you can pull it up,
absolutely.
I'll let you do that. You can see that. Can I read the first headline, the first paragraph?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the strike now fully in our rearview mirror, which might not be. The market is in a state of correction, particularly in the truck and SUV segments, where declines for full-size vans and full-size trucks are reporting record-level single-week depreciation. In general, though, a majority of the segments reported declines exceeding 1%, and that's 1% for a week. Now, I looked at some of the data, and for instance, full-size vans dropped like 3.72% or something like that. And people go, oh, 3.72%, that's nothing. Okay, well, that was in 1 week. And that represented more than a $900 decline in the wholesale values that dealers were paying for those vans at auction, which meant that if you bought one of those vans the week before and you took it back to the auction the following week, you were only going to lose $900 in value on the vehicle. And that was coming after, I believe, the week before they had dropped like 2.2%. So they have dropped almost 6% in 2 weeks for full-size vans. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is astronomical.
Well, and I don't like to throw cold water because that's amazing. I love it. But I always remember, of course, they shot up like 30%.
Well, sure.
So we've come down, 6, but we went up 30, and then, but it is headed in the right direction. And I see this, for those who don't know me or tuning in first time, I'm a car coach. I help people do deal reviews all day long. I do about, maybe 100, 150 a week now, deal reviews. So I'm seeing deals all over the country, and I am seeing this. I am seeing this in real world, actual offerings right now. The prices are finally on the actual consumer side are starting to fall this month. The last 2 weeks, especially. I When I run my market, I run auctions and books and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over what's being asked now because the market takes the last 30 days, and the last 14 days have really thrown everything into flux. So it's a good time to get out there and look finally for the first time in a long time.
Oh, absolutely. And I get it that prices had gone up 30-40%.
Yeah.
I get it. And that a 6% reduction over a 2-week period of time doesn't seem like a lot. But it's better than no reduction.
Yeah.
It's better than the weeks where there were slight increases in the wholesale values. We are seeing historically significant declines in some of the segments at the wholesale level. Now, will that translate into at the retail level? I especially think it will on large SUVs, pickup trucks, and vans, because what is there a plethora of out there
Yeah.
in domestic vehicles on the new car side? Large SUVs, pickup trucks, and maybe not so much in vans, but probably more than enough than they need at the moment. So if there's too much new car inventory in those segments, that's got to put downward pressure on the asking prices of the pre-owned versions of those, I would think.
I agree, and I'm seeing it, and sort of as Igor here says here too. I'm seeing it in the luxury car. I don't deal in exotic,
Yes.
so I don't know what there are. I take Igor's word for that, but I
Yes.
am definitely seeing it in the luxury car segment as well. And then you got a lot of, I'm not going to say panic setting in, but more realization, I think, setting in at the dealership level finally. Whereas we saw wholesale declines for so long, we were talking about wholesale decline, and it never hit retail. We
Yes.
were like, I'm starting to see it finally hit retail again. And that's great. 6% versus 30. I get that, but it is in the right direction, and you can start to see some pretty good deals. I mean, we're getting things under invoice again, right?
Mhm. Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking under invoice on some of these vehicles again. I see transit vans with discounts now.
Wow.
And that, everyone knows, like those who were following us for a while, transit vans were the one that were, no, you're just never getting a discount. But now I'm
Y-
seeing some discounts there.
What kind of vehicles? Since you brought it up, and I know it might not necessarily be a part of what Zach had scripted for today's show, but what type of vehicles are you seeing that are selling in some parts of the country under invoice?
Well, if it has a 1500 in the name of it,
Okay,
that's going to be one of them.
gotcha.
F-150s in certain parts you get well below invoice on. Um, you know, it's sort of growing a little bit. I saw a deal on a Tacoma today in the Bay Area at 10% off. First pencil at 10% off.
Wow.
Um, so there's a lot of movement. Hyundai just came out with 0% financing on several of their vehicles this week. So there's movement all over the segment right now.
And we have discussed ad nauseum that the manufacturers are going to have to increase their incentives
Hmm.
in order to help the dealers move their product. Um, and incentives take many forms. There is the cash rebate to the customer. There is subvented interest rates. Oftentimes you will see the manufacturer might give you a choice between a subvented interest rate and perhaps a $2,500 or $3,500 cash rebate, and it's an either or situation, because the
Yeah.
reality is that based on averages of what people would finance, that $3,500 cash rebate is equivalent to what that subvented interest rate's going to cost them. So, but you're going to see it in so many different ways. And then you will see, well, you won't see it, but the dealers will see it, is that many of the manufacturers are going to have programs for them, volume bonuses, especially on some of these things that aren't selling. And what immediately comes to my mind, and I don't know this to be the case, but what immediately comes to my mind for that would be any of the Jeep products, the 4xe products, that
Yes.
seem to be really sitting. So will there be huge customer incentives on those? Absolutely. Huge lease incentives on those. And then, excuse me, huge cash incentives to the dealer to move those vehicles, by hitting a minimum number, and then a huge cash incentive would kick in, which I would think you would see reflected in the retail prices on those type of vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to see some of those. Igor had a couple in here too. He's right. Nissan Pathfinder, easy to get below. Rogue below invoice.
Mm-hmm.
Tiguan by VW, definitely. I don't think he mentioned the Crown and the Mirai.
Yes.
I don't know about the Crown below invoice, but the Mirai.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you could definitely get the Mirai below invoice. You just can't fill it up anywhere.
Yeah.
So good luck on it. If you want a really expensive paperweight, you can do that.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, we're seeing all kinds of rates right now. As you said, I think Hyundai's 0% on the Santa Fe is 0% or $2,500 cash.
Gotcha.
It's or.
Yes.
On a couple, a lot of those who, looking at like or considering EVs, those are great for both APR and incentives and negotiability as those pile up. So just like the truck segment, the EV segment, as inventory's piling up out there, because it's piling up everywhere, that those are, this is your target. I would still personally wait till December.
I think that as they said in the movie Airplane, in December's when the poop's going to hit the fan, because that's when the reality of we got a lot more cars we need to sell this month to hit our goal. That's when those realities set in, and that's when the manufacturers enhance their customer and dealership programs to encourage selling vehicles at a cheaper price. There's no way around that. So that, I believe that's going to happen.
Well, even the last 2 years during the chip shortage and the pandemic and everything else that went on, I was still surprised come end of December. Everyone was just like, just get these out of here. Just get them out of here. And we saw huge discounts on things that a month before had a markup on them.
Gotcha.
And now we saw, so I am really expecting this December to be special, especially since these discounts, the 0% and all the rebates are hitting about a week earlier this year than they did last year.
I think the reason for that is because Thanksgiving's hitting a week earlier this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, last week or last year, a week before Thanksgiving, we weren't seeing quite this much movement. It would really start at Black Friday, and then we sort of moved on from there. And now it's before Black Friday. We're already seeing some of the rollouts on some of these deals.
And the reason for that, I would believe, is probably this time last year, there was maybe 1.4 million new vehicles in inventory or in transit that were available during the month of November. And this year, that number's 2.4 million. It's amazing how an extra million units can impact the pricing and the desire to move them, especially when interest rates to carry that inventory have gone up dramatically.
Yes. And Yeah, I mean, inventory levels definitely, and the market is, the interest rates have been so high that nobody's buying. So, so with the stagnation there, we're seeing a lot more dealers going, "Oh, you pay cash? Okay, great." And there was actually I didn't pull it up because I didn't think we were going to talk about it, but
Yeah.
29% of all new vehicle purchases are all cash
Wow.
right now. And leading the way, by the way, is uh, the Gen Z.
Really?
Yeah, Gen Z with gift purchases.
Wow.
Yeah, in other words, they're being, someone gave them money to buy the car and they're paying all cash. So 29% of the market's paying all cash right now.
Must be us baby boomers giving away our money to our children and our loved ones. Well, prior to actually passing away.
Yeah, I mean, if someone could go ahead and give me money for a new car, that'd be great. I just don't want it to be a relative who's about to pass away.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Yeah.
I believe Zach had something on today's docket about the UAW voting. I mean,
Yeah.
yesterday they talked about a plant, one of the facilities where they voted against ratifying the contract,
Mhm.
and
I think it
today,
was in Kentucky, right? And then,
yeah, it was one of the facilities in Kentucky, and today, um, the the numbers that have come out, there were two more, what was it, GM plants where they have voted it down. Some of the personnel have voted it down. It's still, before we get all nervous and jerky, it is still tracking to pass overall, but
mhm.
it's getting a bit worrisome. Could you pull that headline up?
Yeah. So
There
it's,
is.
oh, you know what? I'm in reader view. Sorry.
Well,
That's
you
that's
can.
how I read articles. So
Well,
here we go.
you're allowed to read them any way that you prefer. Um,
So here, see, I like the reader view better. um, so yeah, where's the headline on this article now? Oh, there it is. There we go.
it's at the top. Go
Yeah, it's at the
figure.
top. Go figure that. Yeah. So yeah, we're passing it by 51% to 49% right now. Is the you know
And just so everybody understands, it just takes a simple majority for it to pass. Now, we had discussed this slightly on yesterday's show, and I saw a comment from one of our viewers who said, "Well, if it passes like 50.1% to 49.9%, well, don't you think they would want to do something about it, because almost 50% of the employees are going to be disgruntled?" And I thought to myself, that's pretty much the way it works in a democracy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that isn't that the way of the country right now?
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty much on every presidential election, no matter who the guy wins, seems
Yeah.
like half the country is pretty upset about it. Pretty
So,
much. So I mean, yeah, that's okay.
but
If that's what the rules are,
it's amazing though that those that seem to be voting against it are the actual laborers
yes,
on the production floor,
yes.
um, and others are voting heavily in favor of it. So yeah, the skilled trade workers are voting in favor of it, and I guess it's almost like the grunts on the floor are are um, are voting against it in almost equal numbers as the skilled workers. It's it's quite
So
the conundrum.
well, here's what it comes down to, right? Because I dug into a couple other articles about it too.
Okay.
The ones that are voting for the skilled trade workers are
Yes.
the ones who are getting the mass bulk of the raises,
Go
while the
figure.
other workers are not getting very much of a raise.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, they don't think the deal's so good. So those who are getting the money are like, yes, let's do it. Those who are not getting the money are like, I don't know. I don't think I like this deal.
So basically
Go
what I
figure.
yeah, basically what I hear you describing is just a tiered system that we find in in most levels of employment. And if you're at the lower entry level tier, you're not going to be as happy as the guys that are at the slightly higher level tiers. And the guys and gals at the slightly higher level tiers are going, well, we don't really care about you below us, uh, which
Yeah,
is
I
uh,
mean, which is human behavior. I mean,
yes,
you're
yes,
very rarely going to find that in any field where they're going, oh no, it's not fair to that guy over there. It's fair to me, but it's not fair to that guy. And like that rarely happens.
it's like when you're on an airplane, and if you were to you purchased your ticket, and let's say you were flying from San Francisco to New York, and your ticket one way was $495, and the person sitting next to you, um, they purchased the same for the same flight, but theirs was only $399. It's like, well, you're going to be pissed.
Yep.
But the one that purchased it for $399 is going to be, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just better at this than you were. I'm entitled to it.
And isn't that the whole problem with the car dealership industry too?
Yes,
Isn't that the, hey, I'm better at negotiating, so I got a much
yes,
better price than you did on the exact same vehicle? And
with
isn't that part of what, like, we sort of kind of rail against all the time?
yes, it's exactly what we rail against, and it's exactly why we're trying to figure out a way for good negotiator, bad negotiator. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's going to pay the same price. It's and realistically, it, that's the way it should be. Um, at least in my mind. Now, obviously, there's 18,000 franchise new car dealers out there, and maybe only 17,000 of them. Well, no, let me rephrase. Maybe only 1,000 of those 18,000 would agree with what I just said, and the other 17,000 would go, "You're a traitor, Ray." Uh,
Well, I like to think maybe it's more than 1,000,
you
but
were-
I could be wrong. I could be
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
It's hard to find, but I get enlightened on what we do on the other side with the Auto Insider podcast, where we get to talk to some dealers, and we talk to some really good dealers, and
yes,
maybe we're only picking out of that 1,000, but like we see a lot of really good ones out there, and I just hope that keeps growing and more people buy into that, because yeah, it shouldn't be like that. But that's this union negotiation, that it doesn't surprise me that it ends up the exact same way. Though one group of these workers is getting a really good deal, and one group is basically being left at what they've been,
yes,
and they just don't think that seems to be fair. I know I'm not in that, so I don't know the difference between a production worker and a skilled trades worker.
yes.
I have no idea what the difference is.
Well, I just think if you have skilled in front of your name, you should be entitled to more money. I mean, don't they have like skilled nurses and things? Aren't
They do.
okay?
They do.
So it means they have an expertise that somebody else might not have, and that expertise is worth more money. Um, I believe that's
Yeah,
how
I
that
mean
works.
that makes yeah.
Now, one of the things that I noticed in the article is there's still three of the really big manufacturing facilities that haven't even voted yet.
Uh,
Um, what yes, you are a skilled car coach, and I will talk to my son about that the next time I have the opportunity. Uh, but I wonder what what I'm trying to think of how to why why didn't they just have every facility vote at the same damn
yeah,
time?
I'm not sure why. Yeah, because I thought I understood they needed ratification from the members, but I
Yes,
thought that would just be like, okay, all GM members, we're going to vote
on
today, and here's
Thursday.
a yeah, right. I didn't know there's still more than 2/3 of workers. Oh wait, no, I said they had it in their article here. There's a lot that have not voted yet. Like
Yes.
a lot. Oh, you know what? We have this from Zach. Who's lovely here. On the voting so far. Oh, I know. I thought there was. Yeah,
It
so you can see some of these are not very voted yet. So I don't know where.
yeah, I don't I mean it would just seem if you're trying to ratify a contract.
I'll look at the salaried members are all voting yes, and
Well,
it's the hourly that are. Yeah. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's skilled versus production. Is that salary versus non-salary?
I honestly I don't know. But those that are at the bottom of anything are going to be the least happy when it comes to these type of negotiations. And the sad reality is, as it appears to me, and I could be entirely wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time, but you have to start somewhere, and you start somewhere and you move yourself up. That takes time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get why, while you are going through that process, that you might feel as if you are grossly underpaid. I get that. Okay, but it's very few people, unless they're the son or the
Oh,
daughter of a yeah,
where did you go?
you can do away with me. I don't know.
No, where did yeah.
But very few people, unless you're the son or the daughter of a dealer principal at a dealership, get to start at the top. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how the system works. You don't start at the top. In Zach's previous job, when he was working in the nonprofit field, he started as a web developer. Okay. And he worked his way up in that organization from a web developer to eventually becoming the chief operating officer before he left that company to go out on his own and try and build this business. Um, he didn't start at COO and work his way backwards. You work at the bottom and you work your way towards the
Yep.
top. That seems to me the way it's supposed to work. And you know, I
Yep.
I and I appreciate what Igor said. Not always, Ray. I started my son as an assistant to the salesman. Yes, you were one of the smart dealer principals. I've worked for too many dealer principals who started their son or daughter at the very top. And I've worked for some dealer principals who just said at a certain point, I don't even want my son or daughter to show up anymore. I'll just send them a check every month. Okay.
I was born into the wrong family.
Well,
I
me too.
I've had to work. So I do want to say two things on that note that are
Okay.
probably gonna piss people off on both sides.
Okay.
So one is I've always liked a quote from Henry Ford that he said, "You're gonna work for less money than you deserve most of your life, so eventually you can be overpaid for the rest of your life."
I like that.
Because that's kind of the
Yes.
way it still works today.
Yes. Yes.
And two, I don't think we believe that in California. As I worked in restaurants for 30 years,
Yeah.
and now we have said restaurant workers, fast food workers
Yes.
specifically, get $25 an hour because somehow you're supposed to have an entry level job that you can live on for the rest of your life. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Like that's not what you're supposed to do. And by the way, it just makes $25 an hour not a livable wage anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're a high school kid, 16, 17 years old, and you want a job and you get a job at your local McDonald's or wherever, you didn't expect to get a job that was going to pay you $25 an hour.
I hope
You
not.
expected to get a job that was probably going to pay you minimum wage. You were thrilled to have a job so that you could have some spending money, and eventually you work your way up, or you go do something else. So, but yeah, I quasi sort of get everybody's entitled to a living wage, but you know,
but
but
but it
16,
doesn't become
17-year-old, 18-year-old kids are
yeah,
not.
it doesn't become a living wage anymore.
Yes.
We have a how much is a Big Mac in California? Well, the law hasn't taken place yet, but McDonald's and Chipotle both have announced that they are increasing their prices because of it.
Wow.
They just will. That's
I have to answer a question for Mel here. Ray, what Mazda dealership did you work at in Arizona? It was Burge Mazda Volkswagen. We were in Mesa at the time. I think they moved to Country Club Drive. I'm not sure where the hell it's located today, but that's the one that I had worked at when I got back into the car business after my failed attempt at a golf pro shop. Um, I was a closer at Burge Mazda Volkswagen, and I will say, on my first day, and we were open from 8 in the morning till 9 at night. On my first day, I showed up at 7:30 because, well, I believe that if you're doing it 8, you get there early, and I left to go home at 1 o'clock in the morning the very next day, because, well, the idiots that I worked for there, they just thought it was like some type of badge of honor to stay past midnight. Um, and that's when I knew at that very moment that I had made a mistake going to work at that place. But I lasted a year because I had a wife and a son, or a wife and a daughter, and eventually I would have had a son on the way. So I needed the job. Wow.
again, may I say, Mel, if you are looking for help to do that deal, we do have an in-network Mazda dealer with our concierge service. So give us a call, go to the website, get the phone number, CarEdge.com, and we can help you with Mazdas, as we do have a trusted dealer in our network finally.
You know, thank you, Kimberly at Auto Finance Sense. Many people ask what's going on with Kimberly. Kimberly is here participating in the chat today. She has her own YouTube channel, Auto Finance Sense. Do yourself a favor, get the education that you're entitled to, and go check out her channel. And when you get there, tell her Ray and Justise had sent you.
That's right. She has amazing videos. You go to her channel, check them out. She gets down to the nitty gritty and does such detailed videos. I send them out with a lot of my coaching sessions. Like, okay, they happen to ask a question. I'm like, well, I know someone who did a video on that. Here, go check out Kimberly's videos. She's still doing all the great stuff just on her own now.
Absolutely. And we're here to help support Kimberly any way we can. Yes. Do we have a really you got to be kidding me today?
I have one that is on the other side of the you got to be kidding me though.
Okay.
So, if you have a typical one, you can go, because I would just like to end with a high note.
Okay. Well, I don't have it other
Okay.
than I was going to say Zach sent us a picture
Oh,
of that Volvo
yep.
minivan.
I was just going to say we do have one.
So
Yeah.
really, you got to be. I mean, listen. May I say, you know how I feel about the Cybertruck,
Yeah.
and apparently the good folks at Geely in China are, I don't know, they're thinking there's some type of competition to come up with the ugliest looking vehicle, and that their competition must be the Cybertruck. So they've come up with this god awful looking minivan. I I did not know it was possible to give those Thor headlights to such just a miserable looking. I mean, what was your take when you saw that?
I said the same thing I say when I see a lot of these Chinese EVs. So they have different design style choices over there that
Okay.
they seem to like. I mean, the Chinese market is quickly becoming the largest car market there is,
Yeah,
and
well,
is already the largest EV market.
yes.
And I just kind of go, well, I don't think that styling would work here in
Yes.
America, but those vehicles don't work here very much either. Like
That's
the
true.
minivan's kind of out here,
Yeah.
and it is like the number one seller over in China. So mean, but look, we've discussed this on the EV show before. I don't like the looks of most cars. I really don't like. So
Yes.
I look at this and I go, like whatever. It's just I look more at the this part of it, Ray. It's $114,000. Like
Yeah.
what
What do you
the
what it's the Volvo version of the Grand Wagoneer.
well, I say the interior doesn't look super. Of course, I'm on reader view. The interior does not look super nice on it. It looks all right, but
Looks like a
I mean, the
Volvo.
one thing about the Grand Wagoneer, I do like this. I do like these seats
Yes.
back here.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing about the Grand Wagoneer was at least I can look at it and go, okay, that's really nice.
Yes. Yes. The rest of it might not be so much, but the interior, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this looks like I haven't had a seat like that since, well, I don't know, last time I flew in an airplane. Or something similar to that. Yeah. Yeah.
it was really the front. I was just like, okay, that doesn't seem. The back seems nice. It seems like, oh, what's that super expensive executive limo van thing? Mario and I were in it at the LA Auto Show, but that was it VinFast? It
Oh, I
wasn't
don't know.
VinFast, but it was the same thing. Like the front was nothing, and it was all about the back seat. It was
Wow.
all. It had the giant screens in the back, and yeah, this has airline fold out table. There you go,
Yeah, look at
right?
that.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
I don't know
just
who's
want
serving your meal in the back seat, but the back seat seems like yeah, it was
yeah.
this whole same design.
That,
Yeah,
that'll be perfect when you pull into that McDonald's
yeah, yeah.
to
So
get that Big Mac.
this
Yes.
seems like an executive uh, vehicle. Like you're not meant to drive it; you're meant to ride in the back of it.
Perhaps, but
That's kind of
it's
how it strikes me.
yeah, it's something that as people see it coming down the street, it's the type of vehicle that'll make you gag. Uh, but whatever. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was there something else you wanted to chat about today?
Yeah, I just had
Okay.
one. I just wanted to end on my note on a high note today.
Okay.
My second consult call, we had a really good deal come in on from Auto Nation Toyota in Hayward, which is
Okay.
in the East Bay of California. For those who don't know, that would be in the San Francisco area ish. Um, and they were offering 10% off TRD Tacoma off road upfront, first pencil, no add ons. And our member said that they treated him like a rock star. Like their service was amazing. Everything about them was service oriented and customer oriented. It was really great. Again, 10% first pencil, no argument. Just here it is. They did a really great job. So I just wanted to shout out to Damien and Ahmad over at Auto Nation and Toyota and Hayward for doing the right thing. We talk about the bad dealers all the time. I like to give a shout out to the good ones that are doing it right and just say thank you. I don't know that every deal they do is like this, but this one sure was. And I just wanted to say thank you to them.
Well, that was worth staying overtime for. And yes, we should indeed shout out the dealers that do it right. And perhaps we should make that a segment on the show every day if there's a dealer that we can sing our praises, or sing their praises, that we should do that. And I want to answer, somebody want to know what Jorge Silva want to know, what's Ray's best email address? Ray at CarEdge.com. And if you send me an email, I will read it and respond.
Good luck with that, Ray.
No, I will.
I know you do. You do. You respond all the time. You're really very good at that.
you know, I,
I
I,
don't give out your email because I don't want you to get inundated.
I if I get inundated, then I'll say, hey, I'm sorry, everybody. But for the most part, if I get an email, I respond to it. Because what I realized is that we're nothing without these folks.
Yeah.
So
That is absolutely true. I think everyone knows my email address. You should be able to figure out if it's ray@caredge.com and zach@caredge.com. You could probably figure out most of our email addresses.
it doesn't take much.
No.
we didn't get overly creative.
No.
So there you go. We will be back here tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific time. You and me again. You're filling in for Zach for the rest of the week. Zach's in New York today, and then catching a plane to Arizona. Tomorrow he and Laura will be in Sedona. So anybody out in Sedona, if you see a couple cute kids and you think that might be Zach and Laura, it could be. And then I think they're hiking the Grand Canyon on Friday, and they got a wedding on Saturday.
Busy week.
They are so young that they can pull all this stuff off.
I know.
Yeah.
I was not jet setting at Zach's age. I'm still not jet setting.
Yes. And then I think they fly back home on Sunday. So God bless them. I hope they have a great trip and a great time. I hope they have safe travels. And I'm looking forward to seeing you, Mr. Justice, back here again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Ray.
Terrific. Thank you, everybody, for being here.